welcome to the More Monkey session. I've been doing a monkey session for about the third year in a row now. First one I did was the first Ntp Walck admin, and of course I use it daily, and it's a great open source project that I love. So since last year, what's new? How many people here use Monkey Server? Great. How many of you are on the latest build of 17, yeah, 0.84.17.7. Okay, this is great then. I'll go over what's new basically since last year. There's a lot of cool things that were added. Nothing huge, but, well, maybe one, Munki Web Admin. This is something that Greg made. It's Jenga based. It's the official web app for Munki Web Admin, so it's supported through the normal channels. It's OS agnostic. It's great. It runs on Linux. It runs on Timeserver. You probably run it on Windows, but you can't vouch for that. And it works pretty well. It gives you a nice graphical interface into your Monkey repo. Web-based, you don't need a client to install, and you can even do LDAP authentication with it if you'd like, and make limited accounts, expanded accounts, and give people, as much control as they need to do their job, but not more, ideally. It does minor reports, basically just status of software installs, and it does inventory, but it's not like if someone wants pie charts and hard stats, for stuff, it's probably not the best. There's no good way to export everything, but it works pretty well for what it is, and it's something that I use regularly. No package installs were added in 0.83.16.34, and it allowed you to install something without actually having a package. Did anybody ever try doing that before this? So what you would do is you'd give it a dummy package, and it would mount it, not do anything with it, and run your script anyways. So this is a way around that. Basically, it doesn't require a package. You just have it run a script. It's like a payloadless package without the package. You just get right to the script part of it. It's great for printers, settings, whatever you need. Printer management, speaking of, is really handy. And if you can grab those links, I don't know the status of the wireless right now. I know I'm not on it. But if you check out those links, it's a complete package info for how to set up a printer. And the nice thing about it is you can require the print driver. So the driver installs, and then it installs the printer in the proper order. And it will take care of that dependency for you. And the nice thing is, if someone removes the printer, it'll re-add it, and it will just take care of that piece of it for you. There's an alternative method on there. I think Nick McSpadden made it. It's using a package, but I like to do the no package just so I can edit it quickly and get it out the door faster without having to re-import. Anybody here doing Apple updates with Monkey? Cool. The newest version doesn't have anything broken that I know of. Are you on 17.7? Or latest? Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, all the updates install in one run right now. So before it would install third-party updates, do their thing, and then it would install Apple updates. Sometimes with a reboot in between. So now it'll do all the updates, third-party and Apple, all in one run, and then do one reboot at the end instead of having a third-party reboot, Apple updates reboot, we'll do it all in one run. So it makes bootstrapping a little bit faster. And it gives you the opportunity to add more blocking applications. So if you want to block specific apps from being open while the Apple updates are installed, you can do so. And you can also do them unattended, and you can even forcibly install them, which is very handy, especially if it's a security update. You can force them to install it. Anybody here use force install after date? Heavy hand? Yeah, I use it for like two things, but the heavy hand normally doesn't get very far with the end users, so. But it's there. So what does this look like? If you want to make a Apple update package info, you would just feed it this information. You feed make package info, the Apple update ID. This one is iTunes 11.03, I believe it is. And we want it to be an unattended install. We want it to force install after date, and that's today, like 1:45. So, it would forcibly install at that time if it was, an actual machine. What that looks like is this. This is standard package info format, but this is the whole package info. It's only metadata. The actual Apple update never touches your repo. It's actually pulled from your Apple software update server. It could even come from Apple's software update server. Which one? You got me. So there you go. So that needs to be a date key. Yeah, so instead of a string key, that should be a date key right there. I didn't even realize that. Because I always do it manually. Cool, well thanks. Thanks for pointing that out. And so the nice thing about this is you can actually control how the Apple updates get installed, even if you're not pointing at your own Apple Update server, which is very handy. And the name here is actually the product ID. I think you can change that. No, actually you can't change that, so never mind that. But that's handy to have there. I would probably put in like a description block and say this is iTunes, 1103, so you know what it is. Because the product IDs are not very, human friendly. So conditionals. Conditionals are very handy, and they can be very confusing sometimes if you're getting complicated. Let's look at a simple one. Here's one that says, if the OS version is 10.7, we're going to install OS 10 Mountain Lion. And the beauty about this is, it will make Mountain Lion as an optional install for them. And it'll pop up, they can go to optional, install it, and after the upgrade, since they're no longer on 10.7, it'll no longer be an optional. It'll be gone from their list. So that way they can't try to uninstall Mountain Lion by unchecking it, because that won't really work anyways. And they can't try to reinstall Lion, in case something's wrong. So that's a very handy conditional that I've used in the past, and it's very good for upgrades. I anticipate going from 10.8 to 10.9 using something like this, trusting nothing changes too much. Catalog filtering. If you have new software, I don't know if anyone's noticed this, but if you have a main catalog that every machine uses and you import a piece of software directly into it, it will throw warnings on every single client saying, I can't find it, it's not in this testing catalog, and yell at you, essentially. So with this conditional, you basically say, only consider it if you have this catalog. So that way you have new software which is in the testing catalog, and the client will only look at it if the client actually has the testing catalog. So you avoid throwing all those warnings. And the nice thing is you just basically take this and put this in your main catalog, this conditional block. So if you have new software, you put it in there, you test on your test clients, and then when you're ready to move it into production, you just copy that line down into your main managed installs block, and make sure it's in the right catalog, make catalogs, and it'll be off to your main machines. Date conditionals are another new addition. This is actually just the most recent addition early this year. So you can make stuff available only after a certain date. And here you can see we're using date, and that's actually the date object. But there's some fancy stuff in there, but just know that you can put the date in there, tell it it's an NS date, and all I really care about, is the date. So I basically cut and pasted this off the wiki and changed the date to what I needed it to be. So after 1:45 today, Opera will be installed on my machine, which is not necessarily desirable, but this is what we have. So let's get a little bit more fancy. We'll do some compounds. So if it's a laptop and it's 10.8, we'll give it Cisco AnyConnect VPN. So this makes sure that only machines that need Cisco AnyConnect VPN will get it. In this case, the test environment is, or the production environment is, you only have 10.6 machines and 10.8 machines. 10.6 machines would have like VPN client, the old one, and 10.8 machines would have AnyConnect VPN, the new one. So you would want to make sure that everyone has the proper version. So let's expand that to, there you go. See, I even was nice about it, I forgot. So if you break it down, machine type is laptop, and the version OS is 10.8, and it'll install for you. Here's a nested one. This is actually just like the previous one, but with a little bit more to it. If the machine is a laptop, just like the previous one, and this condition's by itself, and then we add another condition in it, so we nest the condition. So the way this would read is, if it's a laptop and OS version begins with 10.8, install Cisco AnyConnect VPN. Or if it's a laptop, or if it's 10.6, install this. So to read it from top to bottom would be, if it's a laptop and it's 10.6, install this. Or if it's a laptop and it's 10.8, install the other one. So you see the difference between, that would be one condition, that would be the other condition. And that's how they match up. So whichever one it matches, that's the one it installs. And you can get infinitely complex on these, but I find it to get confusing, so I generally try to keep it simple. If you're 10.7 that condition, it would do nothing. But in my environment, I don't have 10.7, so I'm good. But yeah, you would want to, what you could do is you could say if 10.7 or greater, install AnyConnect. And that would be equally valid. So installable conditions were added recently, and these actually go on package infos. And if you've used conditions in the manifest, the conditions in the manifest is filtering stuff for the machines you want it to be on. these are in the package info, and they are related to the software. So essentially, you use installable conditions if it's a hard requirement of the software for that condition. So in this case, if it's a MacBook Pro 10.1 or 10.2, it's a Retina. It requires whatever this piece of software is that I have. So if this software only works on Retinas, you would add this installable condition to the package info. The reason you wouldn't want this in the manifest is because it will not filter it properly. Because in this case, say I have two versions of software, a newer one that only works on Retinas and an older one slightly that works on every other machine. With the condition, all the Retinas would get the new one, and all the ones that are not Retinas would get the slightly older one. So you wouldn't have to do multiple conditions in your manifest. It would just be all in the package info. It's just like MinOS version or MaxOS version. It only gets it if it's a Retina, and if it doesn't qualify, it looks at the next newest version. It continues on. The one below that is if it's OS version. Now, I did not make this. I'll point that out. I stole it. Borrowed. And if it's 10.7 version 5, 10.7.8, 10.7.9, whatever, 10.7.5 through 9, it will qualify and install it. Or if it's 10.8.2 through 10.8.9, it will also qualify to install. So that's another thing you might put on your software if it's very specific versions of OS X that it supports. And it's very common for some vendors. They make a new version that only works on the new version, and then you still have older clients that need the older version, so you would split them out that way. It gives you a little bit more control. You can rule your own conditions, and you do that by writing a script, and it writes out a key value pair of whatever information you want. So you could say, is broken equals true. It doesn't really matter. Whatever you want it to be. And so long as you write the key value pair to that path there, the library management / conditional items, Munki will pick it up on the run. So Munki will actually run your condition, look at the logic, and figure out if it qualifies for any software, and then install stuff. So if you place it there, from the moment it's placed, it will use that for any future installs. And there's another link there for specific examples of how you can use the conditions. And the conditions were a little bit big to fit on a slide because they're a little bit complicated, but they're really good conditions there for figuring out various states of your machines. So for managing settings, generally you want to use a real management system like, Jamf or FileWave or Absolute Manage or what have you, or even, local MCX, which I'll go over here. But if you don't have, the finances or the resources to get all that stuff, then you can do it this way. And I know that a lot of people actually do this, so it works. It's just not quite as polished. So local MCX is a preferred method, and I don't have time to go into it because it's a vast topic. I don't know if anybody's done local MCX, but it's a little bit more, involved than like a profile, for instance. And what you would do is you would basically create a package that delivers the local MCX, and then it would apply it to the machine. So just in a nutshell, you'd end up with a package that places a configuration file. And I've never used it, but if you want to know more about it, check out that book there. That's by Greg Nagel, so he made Munki, of course, and you will support him if you buy that, so that's always good, nice. Profiles are something I have done with Munki. It's another preferred method. In fact, if you've never managed settings, I would highly suggest using profiles and avoid local MCX. So profiles are pretty much the way forward as far as Apple has told us, and that is how I would go if I was starting, from scratch right now. There's a package template right there, and it's a luggage template. I don't know if anybody's used luggage, but it's a good way to create repeatable packages that are accurate each time. And even if you don't use luggage, you can take a look at that and see the scripts used and piece it together yourself in whatever your favorite packaging app is. So you import that into Munki, and then you can add this install check script. And what it'll do is you fill out the profile identifier, and you set that to the name of your profile. And what the script will do is it will look to see if it exists. And if it exists, it'll tell Munki, yes, it's there. So exit 1, it's present. And if it's not there, it'll say exit 0, it's not present. And then Munki will go ahead and install the profile using the package in the previous slide. So I believe I have that here for us. So here's Munki Web Admin. I don't know if anybody's messed with this, but it's really nice. What we'll do is I'll just give you a quick overview of this. You get the reports for your machines, and this is just the basic client list. So if you have multiple clients, they'd be all listed here. And when you dig into the client machine, you see a little bit more information. It successfully identifies me as a VMware model. This is a VMware VM. And has a little bit more information. But, as I said, it's kind of read-only. There's not really a good way to pull this information out. We can also see what the machine has installed. And Munki's very thorough. So you'll have these things that are buried. If you look at that, it's like system, library, core services, add printer. Who knew? But it's there, and it's version 8.3 apparently. And this has over 225 items just for this one machine. So you wanted to see what version of an application it had. You just filter it like that, and there you go. Safari, it's 603, and that's where it's located. So it filters pretty quickly. It's really quite nice. So I don't remember the name of my package that I made. So let's look at the production catalog. So right there it is, and these are everything in the production catalog. And the one I'm going to do is don't save new documents to iCloud. And this is an example that Greg actually had up on his blog. And basically all it does is instead of trying to save iCloud documents to iCloud by default, it turns it off so it saves it locally by default. Which is helpful if you want to try to keep all your information inside. And this gives you basic information about the package. Gives you the name, display name. These are basically all the keys just in a more presentable format. And then the install check script here is actually shown. And this is the one I showed you just previously. And that's looking for this profile identifier. And if it's there, it'll do its thing. And you can see the version and receipt information down here. So why don't we add this to a client? Client 01. And this is the client's manifest. And you can see we have production catalogs and we have some managed installs. So you can actually reorder things just by dragging and dropping. We can add a new one. And I think it was don't save, there it is. So it'll actually complete it for you if you can't quite remember the exact name. So we'll save that out and we'll go over to our client. All right. In the past, this has run really quick, so I don't know if I caught it or not yet, but I'll try this one first. So let's see if that's installed yet or not. It wasn't unattended, so it would install in the background silently. So I beat it this time. There it is. Or update without logging out. And it's doing its thing. It's mounting the disk image, installing the package, because it saw that it wasn't present. And that's it. So now if we go to System Preferences, we can see that there is a profile. It's installed, and it has the settings listed right there. So it's set to set once, and creates this key here, and basically says, don't save it to iCloud. All right, so let's say someone is a local admin or whatever, and they delete this profile on you. Munki will definitely check to see if it's there, and if it's not there, it will reinstall it. All right, so that's now gone. We go to check. Do the install check, which is really fast, and it'll say, oh yeah, you need the profile, so let's get that installed again. We'll go back here. It's not there, just to confirm it is indeed gone. We'll install it again. And just like that, we have our profile back. So you can install various different types of profiles. I've done 802.1x with this in the past. It works great for that. Because you really want your 802.1x profile to be there, because they're not getting anywhere without it. So it's definitely something that's good to enforce. You could, with install check script, make it installed only once, customize that however you want it. But that's basically how profiles would look if you were to do them using Munki. Let's take... Cool, alright, yeah, never mind. System setup. We have Ntp Server. So if you have a local server that serves as your time server, you obviously want to set that, and you also want to set time zone and power settings. You can do those with the no package as well, and the way you do that is using an install check script and a post install script. So in this case, I'm not using any package at all. It's just one package info. You can get it at the bottom, maybe. And basically what it does is you have your time server in there, and you could actually take this package info and just change the time server lines in both places and use it pretty much out of the box if you wanted to. But it'll check to see if the time server's set using system setup. And if it's there, it'll report correctly, and if not, it won't. And Munki will go ahead and install it. Or not install it, because it's run system setup and set the time server for you. So you can just run the command, and it's very handy to use for that sort of thing. So let's take a look at how that looks. With commands, it's about the same speed, maybe a little bit faster than the profiles because there's no package involved. It's just straight up time server. I'll save that. All right, let's take a look. And it sees that the time server is not set to what we want it to be set, so we'll set it. And it runs, and we should be set. So the way we'll verify is we'll look at system preferences, see if it's in there. I just have something very generic because I don't actually have a time server to point it to. Time.company.com, whatever your domain is. And if we run it again, you could also confirm it that way. And you can see it's running the 2 install check scripts. So every time Munki runs, it runs all the install check scripts that you've had. So it's generally wise to use them sparingly if possible, because each time it does that, it's opening up that interpreter, running it, and then closing it. So it's best to try to keep them to a minimum. And this is really kind of creeping into Puppet or Casper Suite territory for managing these types of settings. I'd probably suggest doing it that way, but this is another valid way of doing it, and it would work quite well. Okay, so some community-made tools that have been in use for a while now, actually. And Munki Server is one of them. I've never actually used Munki Server, but it looks like a really good, robust system. It's pretty much all in one. And it's important to know that if you're evaluating Munki, if you've never used it before, you don't have a very big repo, make sure you check this out quickly, because you can't just import your repo into it. You have to start over, because it has its own way of importing things. So make sure you take a look at it before you get too far in. If not, just use Munki Web Admin. It gets the job done, and it's also very quite good. Munki Admin is a very nice Cocoa app that was made, and you can manage your whole Munki repo using this. So if you're not fond of the command line, you can use this instead, and it gives you a nice graphical way of looking at your repository, and makes it so it's very it's a lot more drag and drop, and you can get things in there a little bit easier. So it's very akin to the Casper Admin app, if anybody's ever used that, or any of the other, like Absolute or any of those. And that's on GitHub right there, but we'll also take a look at it, see what it looks like. And we don't have Chrome installed yet. Nope, no Chrome. So why don't we import Chrome and see what that looks like. All right, so it asks you to select your repository. It intelligently already knows that I have something mounted at volumes repo, so it's selected that by default. If you don't do that, you'll probably have to mount it and then go back in and select it. You hit open, it'll process everything in there and give you a view of everything in your repository. So here's just a list of all the packages. It's very minimal. We have Adium, we have CyberDoc, the profile I just imported, and set Timeserver, which is a new package. And we'll give you some nice details about each one. Basically, anything you can set in the package info, you can set via the graphical interface here. So you can set it to be an unattended install if you want. So we'll go ahead and do that. And it'll tell you the contents. This delivers /applications/Adium. The path it delivers it to. Everything you pretty much need to customize in here it has. You can add scripts, pre-install scripts, post-install scripts. You can just paste them right in there. It takes care of encoding them for you. It's really quite handy. So close that one out. And then there's also a catalog view. So if you want to see what you have in development or what you have in production, this shows you the status of each and every package. Checked means it's in that catalog. Unchecked means it's not in that catalog. And it's very easy to roll stuff into different catalogs. So here I have Firefox, it's in production, but I want it back in development. So I'll do that, hit save. It actually runs make catalogs for you, so you don't have to remember to do it. It'll save out the file, run make catalogs. Here's the client list. And this shows you everything that's listed as a managed install, uninstall, optional, etc. And you can add stuff to here, I believe. And it'll show it grouped by type, individual packages. So if you have multiple versions of Firefox, it'll group them for you. Or you can just see one huge list. So it depends how much you have in your repository. So we've got the... What about importing? That's right, let's get back to Chrome. I can actually feed it the DMG file straight up. Right there. And it'll copy the repository. I just have to tell it where to put it. So I will make a new Google folder. Oh, it's already there, you're right. I already imported it. I did. No. That's right. We'll re-import it. It's a different name. There we go. And this will probably save the new version of it. I happen to do these your snapshots, right? Let's call this number 2. Doesn't really matter, but there we go. So there's Google. We now have Google Chrome in there. They're both the same version because I'd already imported it. And everything about it. So by default, it takes all the defaults. So if you want to customize it, you have to go in here and do all that. You know, enter a description or what have you. And then this is the notes key, I believe it is. So you can just add whatever notes you need in there. And it's a nice way to keep track of everything and maybe write notes to fellow admins or what have you. And yeah, this is a pretty basic install, so we don't need any of that other stuff. Go ahead and save that out. We'll make catalogs. Let's see what. It's a better view for this. I'll go to catalog view. Alright, so Chrome is imported into testing by default. So I'm going to take it out of testing because I actually don't use that. I use development instead. And we'll add that to, well, let's just put it into production. That way. Okay, so it's now in production, and we only have one thing left to do. If I want this on my client machine, I need to add it. So let's go there and add Chrome. Yeah, it's all the same version. And hit save. Do everything it needs to do. And I'm actually on the machine. I'm actually on the client, so why don't we run that and show that it is indeed there. And, you know, it does this thing. Alright, so there's Munki Report PHP. This is another web-based look into your Munki repository. It came before Munki Web Admin, and it's PHP-based, as the name indicates. It's focused mainly on reporting. I don't remember if you can edit manifests. I don't think you could, at least when I used it. May have changed. But it's focused on reporting. So if all you need is reporting, and you still are okay with using Munki Admin or command line or whatever for managing the repo, then this is a pretty good tool to use for that. It's easier to set up and tweak. It's just PHP, so you know, dump the files in the right directory and it pretty much works. And that's on Google Code, and you can find it on that link there. AutoMonkey is a tool for automating things. I know it's used with Jenkins. The gentleman who made it uses it with Jenkins. And it's for continuous integrations, which what they call it. Basically, it watches Adobe's servers, and it has an XML file it actually looks for. And it will look for the version, and if the version changes, it automatically downloads it and imports it into Munki for you. So you just don't You just test it, move it to production, you're done. There's no extra work. And you can use this. There's several different things that they have in here pre-canned, ready to go. Flash is one of them, Firefox, a lot of the major stuff. So stuff that gets updated frequently, you just don't have to do hardly any work for it. You just do the testing and do the deployment. And you can use your time for other things. AutoMonkey Importer came like a day after, because they were both working on it unbeknownst to each other. So they both had their own approach. AutoMonkey uses Bash and Ruby, and AutoMonkey Importer uses Perl and LaunchD items. And they're both really good. The AutoMonkey was made to use with Jenkins, as I mentioned. This one's made to be standalone. So they kind of have like these recipe-style files. And you just tell it which catalog you want it in, and which folder you want it in your repository, and it'll check on a schedule. And then when a new version comes, it'll download it and import it for you. So it does much the same thing. These are some helpful resources on Google Code. That's just the main Munki website. I would check out the wiki. There's a lot of information. We've been trying to keep it up to date as much as we can. Munki Dev mailing list. If you're not on there, definitely join up. And the IRC server is pretty invaluable. If you need help right away, that's the place to go. There's so many people on there. Several people in this room even. And if you need help right away, Greg's even on there sometimes. You try not to bother him too much, so he can make more improvements to Munki. But, he likes to jump in anyway, so, what have you. And then on GitHub, I actually found some of these tools using GitHub. You just search for Munki and you'd be surprised by how much stuff there is on there. It is definitely quite a bit. And I left a lot of time intentionally, well, unintentionally, maybe intentionally, for Q&A. So, anything you've had problems with or questions about, or any more intricate situations, I'd be happy to talk about it. It is completely separate. So I had it in the slide as new, and I guess I should have distinguished a little bit more. But yes, it is separate. It's a Jenga web app, and it has its own branch in the Munki repository, in the Munki code site there on Google Code. And there's directions for setting it up. Basically, it uses a built-in web server that we have you install. And there's some really good directions for both OS X and for Linux. I think 2 different flavors: Red Hat Enterprise Linux style, and then another one I can't remember. But there's directions on how to set that up and how to get that going. So this just sits on top of your Munki repo and manipulates the files as if you were going in and doing it manually. So how it works is when you go into manifest, it actually can, if you have a Git repository in there, it can actually check it in for you as you make changes to keep track of things. But when you go in here and change this, it actually edits the file directly. So if we just remove Chrome off of here and then save it, it then commits it. We go back over to the client repository. Nice. Oh, well, how many times have you done that, man? All right, so it actually removed it from there. And if you go in here and edit yourself, like let's take Firefox out just for fun, and we go back to Munki Web Admin, and we reload the page. Click that. It'll see that it's gone. So they're completely independent. Gotcha. Yeah, that's a good question. So they tie together via scripts, and I guess I forgot to mention that in there. I thought I had it, but basically what you do is you have some pre-flight scripts and post-flight scripts, and they take the managed software update inventory, I think it is, plist or something of that nature, and looks at that. And if you look on the system, yeah, there you go. Manage install reports it pulls, and then there's application inventory. And so we can read these all right. So if we open these, you can see it's just basically a list of all the information, and Munki generates this every time it runs. So essentially what's happening is the preflight script takes this file, curls it up to the server, and then it files it away in the database on the server. And there's some scripts to do that stuff. I actually am not on wireless, otherwise I'd show you the main setup page, but they go through how to set up all the client functions. In fact, let me take a look at the server. Get an idea of what the scripts look like. If you use preflight and postflight scripts, you have to figure out some way to run all of them at the same time, I guess. So what you do is, it's a little bit challenging. If you have a preflight in place already, you need to make something that runs all your preflight scripts. You have to branch it off to run all your scripts, because the Munki Web Admin stuff, you need the pre and postflight. So you'll have to figure out a way to do that. In fact, I have a method of doing that, and I think it's on my GitHub repo, but if it isn't, just ping me on Twitter. I can set that up. Sorry. That's right. See, that's fancy. That wasn't there when I set it up initially because I was bleeding edge. It's very nice. I completely forgot that they had put that in there, but yeah, it has a configuration file too. Go ahead. Okay, so that's kind of it is a huge pain. It is, and I think, okay, so it's kind of spotty, but sometimes on support.apple.com/downloads, sometimes they list them in the download information, but rarely. I've seen them there sometimes, but almost never. So if you're not using your own repository, it's a little bit more challenging. Someone's working on a tool that you just that lists everything that's available off of Apple's. It just gives you a list of like the name and the product ID, and that's all it shows. But that's not out yet, so I don't. Correct. Correct. And there's actually a plist in there for each update that describes everything about it, and the product ID is in there. It's kind of a pain to dig for, but if you use something like Reposado, that got added recently. Probably could. But yeah, it's if you use Reposado, it's a nice front end for Margarita with Reposado. Margarita is the web front end, you know. And Reposado is a command line tool for replicating Apple updates. It'll show you all that information. So it's a little bit of a pain right now, but I think some community tools will be released soon to alleviate that without having to. That's true. See, I haven't even used it with server.app. Yeah, cool. Sure, like in which regard? Doing it all? Sure. Sure. So basically, if you have a client pointed at an Apple software update server, Munki will, by default, well, actually, I don't even remember what the default is, but I turn it on all the time. Is the default off? Okay, so default's off, which is sensible, I guess, because you don't necessarily want it doing that. But if you turn that on, it says install Apple updates, true or false. If you set to true, Munki will query whatever the system is pointed at. So if you manage it in MCX, it'll look at that. If you don't have it managed at all, it'll look at Apple. If you set it in library preferences and MCX, it'll of course pick MCX. But you can also set it in Munki's configuration file, but I don't really suggest doing that. I'd say set it for the system, and then Munki will look at that. So you don't have to worry about having it in two different locations. So it'll look at all the updates there, and if you do the Apple metadata tricks with unattended and whatnot, it will actually apply that to no matter what the source is. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter what the source is. All it does is it says, it actually uses software update from the command line. It says, what updates are available? And then it looks in its catalog and says, is there any extra metadata for the updates? And if there is, it wraps the software updates in that information. So it makes it unattended, or it blocks certain applications, or force installs it after a certain date, or whatever. Absolutely. And you could even use this Apple Updates, extra metadata. You could use that with just Apple Updates if you wanted that extra functionality. No, I wouldn't. So the way I do it is I have production branch, and then I have a firmware branch. If they need the firmware update, like, I'm very hesitant to automate any firmware updates because I've had bad experiences with that. So what I tend to do is if they have a problem that needs to be fixed, I will update their firmware. But if there is no problem, why break it? I mean, fix it. So, you know. Exactly, and it's less prone to blow up if you do it that way. Because you don't know the end state of the machine when you're running it. You know, it's just running if it's idle or what have you. Yeah. Right. A little bit, but still. I just cringe to automate stuff like that. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I would probably not use too many different things. Like, for instance, say you have Munki Web Admin and Munki Admin, as you said. You're opening the same file at the same time and making two different changes and saving it at the same instant. Probably going to be problems. You know, the chances of that happening, probably not great, but I would probably stick to one tool or the other. But the same thing could happen if two different people had Munki Web Admin open or editing the same file at the same time, and, you know. So it's not that big of a concern, I don't think, but, you know, you might want to be conscious of it. Well, the most you get in filtering is, well, let me go over to my client real quick. Is just that box I used. There's no real good way to tag any of them, but those would be very good feature requests, for sure. Because Greg originally developed it, and then there's a couple guys that work on it. Oh, I can't remember, and I think Joe Waller's working on it, yeah, right there. And who else? Can you remember? Who else is helping? Is anybody else? That's who I couldn't think of. Yeah. Adam Reed? Yeah, so Joe's been working on it, Adam's been working on it, and it's been alleviating Greg of that stress a little bit, so that's been very helpful and good. But yeah, and so yeah, here you go. Feature requests. But I don't know, it depends on what the scope is, I guess, which depends what you want to do. Like a remote branch sort of thing? Yeah, you know, and I want to set it up so that you have remotes. So basically, my overall goal, and I haven't done this yet because it's a little bit more complicated, because you have a Git server, and then you have multiple people working. They would pull down a copy of the Git server, and they would say they add a package to their local copy of the Munki server, and there's a package in there. Well, you have to get that package up to the Git server and then back down to your Munki server somehow. Yeah, so you do rsync, you do, like they have Git post commit hooks, and all these other things that Git can kick off after you do a Git commit. So you would use that to run an rsync or what have you. So you need the package to go with your package info. Yeah, see, right now I'm just mounted a repository. I'm really bad. So don't do what I do. I mount the repository directly and just work on it because, I didn't want to have to deal with copying files. Because there's so many times that there's some other people in my office that do clone it, and they forget to put the package in place. So I'm like running make packages, and I'm like, you forgot the package again, so. I don't, depends how much you don't trust yourself. I should do that. Yeah, ideally I would probably branch it out to having a local copy, a server, and then the Munki server over here. So that way you could push it up, and then if you have other people, so you get more people for some, reason, or unlikely, right, But you get more people, then you could do code reviews together and look over everything and explain why. So, it could be a very useful tool in that regard. Utility of that? That's a very good question. Can't comment specifically, but what I've seen it used for in the past is you'll have assigned users, and just for inventory purposes, I don't even have it enabled here, but in your Munki Web Admin setup, there's a line in the config for enabling the user field and making it editable. So you can actually set that in scriptable fashion if you'd like. So I've heard of a way to figure out the end user on the machine that uses it, and then write out a file, and then have that get pushed up to the server somehow. So you could do some trickery there, and basically have it automatically populate that depending on what is in, on the client. So you could do stuff that way. I can, but so I've tried it a little bit, and I have not been super successful with it. There's some other people that are smarter than I am that got it, but perhaps it was a case of I didn't try long enough. But basically, you uncomment some stuff in here, and the problem I've had is my Munki Web Admin server is on 10.6, and Django is much more up to date than my Munki server is. So the LDAP module fails to install. I cannot get it installed. But if you're on 10.7 or 10.8, I've heard it works. And on Linux, it definitely works. But if you're using an older version of OS X server, I can't suggest it. It allows you to hook it up to an Active Directory domain or whatever you'd like, really. Any LDAP system. Great. I'm having a hard time remembering where I installed it. No. There we go. So yeah, it's in the config file, and there we go. Let me show you that real quick. Just need to make my font way bigger. So Django's all Python based. If you're really handy with Python, you could probably customize this like crazy if you wanted to. Alright, so up here you have use LDAP false. Is that big enough? Yeah, a little bit bigger. Use LDAP false here. And if you change that to true, then you have to fill out this bit here. It's only if that's true will it even consider this stuff. But you set up your server URL there, and then your DN there, and your password. And then if you have like a custom search field, not everybody sets up their AD servers or LDAP servers the same. So you need to point this at the place where all your users live. And if you don't do that, it won't work at all. I think the last time I tried this was a little bit ago as well, and I had struggles with it, but I know it works very well now. I know people use it, and I've just not gotten around to it. Only access to the web app. Yeah, so it's only for access to the web app. So we're help desk personnel, because you might want help desk people to log in if they're in a certain group, and say this group only gets read access because you don't want them, poking around in there. So then when they go here, they would just log in using their AD credentials instead of the canned account. Let's take a peek at admin here. So on the user side, you can make users manually. So if you don't feel like doing LDAP, you can actually make custom users. We'll make a help desk. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. And then you can give it some permissions here. And these are all the permissions. Now I think these are very Jenga centric. Do you know anything about the permissions, Joe? They're all canned, right? Yeah. So these are pretty much, you specify a model and Django makes all the permissions for you. It handles a lot of stuff. So you can say add, change, or delete. You don't want them to be able to change, but you might be able to want them to add or only change or what have you. So you can tweak the permissions in there. And I have made a read-only help desk account before so my staff could get in and take a look. Go ahead, hon. Uh-oh. Customer policies? That is a can of worms. I don't know the answer. I just wanted to throw it out there. Yeah. The answer is, the way Munki interfaces with the user, I like more. I prefer it. I think it's a little bit nicer. You can use in Jamf, you have the Jamf helper, and you can pop up messages, but the way it it almost instructs them in a way, and it's like, all right, so these are the things available. You can update them now or later. And then when you do forced install after date, it starts throwing exclamation marks in there to scare them into installing the updates. So, it kind of nudges them along. And I broke something. What did I do? Oh, I don't know. I hate how it rearranges all this stupid pushes on unattended. Yeah, unattended, it's about the same. The only difference is Munki has canned built-in functionality to check for running processes. Like in Casper, I've done it, but I had to script to get that to occur. So, a lazy admin's a good admin, So yeah, there's that. So who else was the things that are right? Mm-hmm. So what I would probably do in that case, I would disable the automatic installs and set up a launch statement to run it on a given schedule, to run only during off hours and automate it. Yeah. So that's probably what I would do in that case. Just so, run it at midnight when nobody's probably looking at the LCD and then it just does its thing. Probably what I would end up doing. Chris? Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. What I would do is you can do two things. There's two pieces. You can do SSL, which all SSL does is make sure that all the traffic is, encrypted. Right. Then you need simple authentication or some form of authentication. And for that, I've used an htaccess file with Apache. And then you have a simple, I can't remember the way the password's hashed for Apache. But basically, you just have a user and password that the client provides to the Apache server to be able to access it. So it sends that along. I did it that way. But you could, I did it that way, but you could do it differently. Yeah, that's what you would do with just the SSL stuff. But that's only for encrypting the traffic. It's not for like positive identification. Yeah, nobody could sniff it, but they could still, if they knew the IP address and the paths, if they knew to go to /app/adobe/master collection, they could download it still. They just say, oh, accept the, certificate. I'm not that good at Apache, so maybe. It'd probably be server-side, only accept certain client certs. But I've never done it, so I don't know. I've not used Symbian. Has anybody here used Symbian? Yeah. Where's Alistair? I know he's used it. It's Google App Engine, so everything's in Google App Engine, and it pulls it all down from there. That's in a nutshell. There's more to it, but you could have everything come down from Google App Engine and their hosting if you wanted to. So it could be like a cloud wave doing it. Well, that's the thing. It's on Google App Engine, but they have authentication that they've built into it. It's how it connects to Google. Oh, what bandwidth? Yeah. But if everybody's remote, it might be a better solution than coming back to your current location. Yeah, I believe there's a way to do it locally as well. Yeah, indeed. So that way they're actually patched when they get back and not. Yeah.
With the LDAP authentication, do you need LDAP to sign permissions too?
I believe so, but let's see. I don't know. I'll have to say I don't know on that one. I've not actually assigned it per group, but I understand that you can. Have you ever done that, Joe? Yeah. Because the LDAP support, to be fair, is a Django thing. It's not something that Greg made. So it's pretty much a standard within that, sphere of web apps. Can we get up to the server? Sure. Or, yeah. Good. Okay, so I hate to say it, but the best way to do it is to have a manifest per computer. And the only reason for that is if you ever need one thing for one person, you don't have to go re-engineer your manifests, which is a huge pain. So if you start out with one per machine, I've had upwards of 600 manifests. And it's a pain to browse manually, but if you're in here, it's great because check this out. You have, all right, so I have one, so it's not going to be a very good demo, but say I had client 01 through client 9000. It would just filter it and only show client 01. So terrible visual, apologize, but that's what you could do. And even if you know a partial, like I've done it with serial numbers. So if you know only a piece of the serial number, you can do asterisk, the piece and other asterisks, and it'll show you all the serial numbers or manifest names that have that. And it's pretty nice. Chris? I have not. Yeah, so there's your guy. Are you going to be talking about... Will you be talking about that in your session? Okay. Sorry. So talk about it at supper. Watch it. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah, I believe that can be done. Have you set that up, Joe? There you go. Yeah. Thank you for being here. Yeah, and to be honest, Munki Web Admin is worth it to set up just for this page right here. If you push something out and it's bad and you don't know it, that tells you. When you have like 50 errors yelling at you, you know you've done something wrong. So it's easy to fix, and the warnings are handy. Sometimes you overlook something, so the warnings will show up there and say, there's some minute thing that you forgot about, so you can go fix it real quick. And it's very handy as a troubleshooting tool. Yes. Is that over like an ISDN or something? Yeah. Normally it's pretty consistent, but I've never had a split location like that. So, if are they all looking at the same repo? Okay. So it's just rsync between two different web servers. Yeah. So what I would probably do is try to reproduce it, and I can never remember how many V's it is, but I always do this. Because I can never remember, so I'm just like, whatever. It works. Cool. Yeah, like, I would... Oh, hey, see? I went and manually edited that manifest, and that's why it's broken. I'd have to know more about the specific setup, I guess, before I could really tell. That's so terrible. Yeah. That's the worst. That is the worst. Yeah, you're like, what are all these errors? You SSH should run it, and nothing happens. But that's normal. Yeah. It caches it when it does the check. It doesn't purge them until it successfully installs, as far as I know. Yeah, if some. Yeah. Yeah, you can see what's going on in that end. Yeah. Oh. Here's something. You've reminded me. That's something you should look at. If it's at the login window, there's a quit script that it tries to run in the current user's context. And if you're at the login window, there's none. So I always disable that using installer choices. So it doesn't try to quit Office. I let Munki handle that piece of it. I do blocking apps for all the Office products. And on top of that, there's an installer choices file you can make that deselects certain sub-packages, and you deselect the one that looks for open Office apps and closes them, or warns you, or whatever it is. So it just skips that piece. I think there's an example for that on the wiki, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, if you haven't tried that, I would try that, because if it's failing like that, maybe some are at the login window and some are logged in. The ones logged in will work. Ones at the login window tend to sometimes mess up. But I thought Greg fixed that already, so... I know, I still do it out of superstition, so... Just in case. Yeah. Me? No. Not me, but yes. So it's an inventory process. So you get a new machine, they make a manifest for it, and the nice thing is, what you could do is you could make a website that has pre-made manifests. So all you would do is put in, something like the serial number, the signed user, select the build that you want them to have, and then it would spit out a manifest for them. So you could make something like that if you wanted to. Yes. Well, no. What you would want to do is you could probably import the manifest util and make a Python script that, iterates through a list of other manifests and then does stuff. Yeah. I don't know off the top of my head, no. But like in Munki, what do you think? Well, let's look. I don't know. So you want to add an included manifest to multiple clients, is that right? Okay. Yeah, and I don't have multiple clients, so. So it looks like you could probably add it, but it's per machine, it looks like. Yeah. That sounds fancy. That sounds really nice.
Yeah, so unfortunately we've got about 4,000 or 5,000 manifests. So
yeah. That's when you just start grepping everything. You're like, forget it. Yeah, forget it. Oh yes, that sounds really cool though. It's interesting. I hadn't thought of using two manifests like that.
Yeah, and then there's some other tricks we got for dealing with updating files.
So there's still one manifest that the machine mainly points to, and then you sub in other things that are included or not. Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. It's very cool because, if you really wanted to, you could write something that looks at AD groups and assign software based upon that using a method like that.
Essentially, what we're doing.
Yeah. That's great. That's really cool. Very cool. Yeah. It doesn't really do license compliance per se. I don't think it's kind of outside of the scope of what it's for at the moment. But I don't know. Do you ever plan on adding that? Well, you can search for one and see, but not like, yeah. Yeah, this is as close as you get. So like here, you can click Firefox and it'll show you how many machines have it, right? Yeah. Yeah, right there. So it'll tell you how many have it, and then if there's multiple versions, it'll break down multiple versions for you. But it's not like export it to a pivot chart and send it to management. But it's good for looking at it. And that's why I use it. It's quick, instant information about my clients and the state of my system. But it's not for management, in my opinion. As in managers. The reports are based on what's physically present. It actually pulls what Munki looks at and evaluates on the machine. Yes. Yes, actually, the way it shows up is, say you name your machines with like a room number, and then the manifest is a serial number. The room number or whatever would show up here, and then when you click into it and see the manifest, where am I at? Yeah, see, I could do it also. I don't know. But yeah, so if you look at your clients, see, now I'm fumbling just because I'm like, oh. Where is it, Joe? I'm missing it. Yeah. I thought it was missing. Am I going crazy? Yeah. Either way, the host name is not necessarily the same as the manifest name. So you could have like a room number for the host name, manifest name is serial number, and you'll have these two different bits of information. And when you go to manifest, that will be manifest only. So say this was my serial number, I would have the serial number of my VM or whatever here, and that's what would show up here. And then over under reports, it would be the room number, because that's the actual host name. Yeah. Any questions? Yeah? Just check. No, nothing personal. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Munki Admin itself? You know, am I on the right thing? Yeah. I haven't even, I don't think I looked at those actually. I was in such a rush. Okay, so let's get manifests. Okay, conditions over here. Let's add a new one. Ooh, magic. Look at that. Isn't that nice? That's pretty cool. Yeah, I didn't see that before. That's nice. So you can add conditions just using the set things here. Do you know if it'll show custom conditionals in there? Oh, you just add them. Ah, so that's nice. So if you add custom conditionals yourself, you can add those, or the built-in ones. That's pretty nifty. I didn't know that. Cool. Those are, I think they're like hard-coded in as like if you don't specify it, that's what it is. But with the command line tool, with make package info, you can set all the things using this. Min OS version, Max OS version, Min Munki version. You know, everything right in there. So if you set up like Jenkins or something to automate it, you could have it, you could put your own custom in there. Whatever. Like for instance, Munki uses testing by default for the catalog. But to me, since well, no, I just disagreed with Greg on terminology. So to me, testing is seeing if it works. And, you know, building your package is development. So for me, I do development and then testing and then production. So I do it a little bit differently. So I set my, you know, my catalog to be something different by default. So you can either set it here, script in a scriptable fashion, or you can do it here with configure. And it'll ask you where's your repository and all that stuff. I don't know if it, you know, you use Monkey Import. Yeah, it's great. So go through all that. Yeah, so there, you can set the default catalog now. So you can do that if that's good enough, and if not, you know, you can use make package info to do all that stuff. Mm-hmm. What else? Good. Okay. Well, thank you. Now it's only 60 seconds early, so.